What's up, guys? This is Kephas.
So, I've been thinking about what draws me, and maybe other people as well, to play World of Warcraft, or really any MMO, because, lately I've been running around in all the different versions of WoW. There's so much going on, and I've been somehow managing to find time to play all of them. And everything from delves in retail WoW and more solo content being available to running around in Season of Discovery and finding all the runes. There's been so many fun activities for me to do by myself or out in the world. And then when I look at what's going on in retail with Mythic Plus and lower participation and a lot more growing frustration with that type of high-end group content, I'm starting to wonder if maybe World of Warcraft is at a crossroads. And it's got me thinking about the nature of MMOs and how we experience them. Before I started playing World of Warcraft, I didn't even know what the game was. I thought it was just another RTS like the series had been up to that point. And then I watched that famous South Park episode and found out that World of Warcraft was in fact not an RTS. It was showing me this massive open world full of players having these adventures. And so within a week of watching that episode, I bought the game, subscribed, and started playing, and I was immediately hooked. The idea of stepping into this living world as my own character, I could explore, level up, interact with other players in a way I had never experienced before in any video game up to that point. And for a long time, I didn't even touch a dungeon or a raid. I didn't even really know what those were. I was too busy exploring and leveling and just enjoying the world. Of course, I eventually started running dungeons just like everybody else, and I even joined a raid team, and I love doing that type of content. Instances are fun, and I don't want to see them go anywhere, but if I'm being completely honest, that's not the type of content that drew me to the game. And if that had been the type of content that was featured in the South Park episode, I wouldn't have really thought that World of Warcraft was anything special. Nevertheless, this type of small group instance content has become deeply ingrained in the identity of World of Warcraft and really most MMOs. But why? Why is this idea of going into segmented levels with a very small group of other players become so intrinsic to what has been called massively multiplayer online role-playing games? Because I think that for a lot of players, including myself, that type of content isn't the most appealing aspect to an MMO. For me, it's the open world, exploring and traversing through the zones, completing quests, learning about the story, running into other players naturally, occasionally grouping up as the situation calls for it. An economy built by those same players, buying and trading items, crafting items and selling them on the auction house, gathering resources to give to crafters. And so you've created this massive cooperative effort in the world, as well as eventually working to empower my character through a diverse set of activities at Endgame, which, by the way, includes dungeons and raids. But when that type of content becomes so much of the focal point of the game, where it dominates the experience to the point where everything else feels secondary, that's where WoW starts to lose its appeal for a lot of people, myself included. One of the things that I've come to realize is that mandatory group content can often lead to toxicity, especially when you have something like Mythic Plus Dungeons, where you add a timer and failure is severely punished. If someone in the group makes a mistake, it can ruin everyone's day, and this can lead to intense frustration and anger. It creates this high pressure environment that a lot of people just don't find fun. People don't want to be stressed out. And if you're new to this type of content, it's easy to feel intimidated and reluctant to even jump in. It's a system built on efficiency, where every aspect of the game is ground down to its most efficient form to complete content that feels extremely repetitive. It leads to a gameplay loop where players are doing content that they don't necessarily enjoy just to get rewards. And this brings me to solo content. A couple months ago, I made a video where I talked about how I felt the future of MMOs lies in adding more solo content. And by that, I didn't mean that group content should be removed. I love group content when I'm in the mood for it, but solo content gives players the freedom to engage with the game on their terms. Features like delves and player housing offer alternatives to the grind of dungeons and raids, making the game more appealing to the broader audience. When I look at WoW's open world content, like the Siren Isles in the latest patch, I see the kind of gameplay that excites me. It's relaxed and cooperative without forcing you to group up all the time. You're running around with other players, taking down big monsters and working towards shared goals. It's engaging, but it's not stressful. And that's the type of group content I think works best, especially for people like me. Content where grouping is optional, but often beneficial. When I look at the type of open world content that was added in Dragonflight and also in the War Within, and I look at delves, and then there are things like Mop Remix and Season of Discovery, that's the type of stuff I love to see in an MMO. A more diversified approach to the game, to the end game and player progression, more activities, more ways to play the game, more things to work towards, like player housing, for example. I think that there are a number of players and maybe even a portion of the dev team that feel that certain rewards should be locked behind specific types of content that gives them a level of perceived prestige for doing that type of content. And to be completely frank, I think that mindset is silly in a 20-year-old video game where we're all just trying to have some fun. I say let people progress however they want to progress. If people want to progress through delves, they should be able to get the highest level of rewards by doing those. Whether you add new layers of difficulty and new tiers, or it just takes longer. Who cares? Let people do the content they want to do, because it's a lot better than forcing them into content that they don't necessarily want to do and making that type of content unenjoyable for everybody. If people want to do Mythic Plus, let them do that and get the same rewards. If people want to do raids, let them do that and they can get all the rewards they want. That's my idea of how the game should work. When I think about like Wrath of the Lich King, when there was the badge system, I remember that you could get your entire tier set just by running heroics every week. And it certainly took a lot longer than if you raided or did harder content, but you could get there. And that was the thing about Wrath that was the most appealing for me, and why that era of the game was my favorite end game, because I could do whatever I wanted to do. That's what I think the game needs, that mentality. At its core, I think an MMO is about creating a vibrant world where players come together and interact with that world on their own terms, which means that you can't have a one-size-fits-all approach to achieving that. Forcing players into specific types of content when they might be interested in doing something else can feel extremely alienating, and at the same time, tying the genre's identity to that very same content can greatly diminish the scope of what the genre can be. Instead, these games need to foster a positive social ecosystem where group play is encouraged but not necessarily demanded. And this can be achieved by first accepting that for a lot of people who participate in the genre, the idea of playing alongside other people can be just as compelling as playing with other people. World of Warcraft has come a long way, and I think it's been an incredible year for the game. But as the game and its players evolve, it's clear that it's time for change and innovation. We need more diverse content, more ways to progress, and more opportunities for players to engage with the game on their terms. Whether it's delves, player housing, or open world exploration, there's so much potential to make MMOs more appealing and enjoyable for everyone. These are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you think. What draws you to play an MMO? What changes would you like to see in World of Warcraft or the genre as a whole? Let me know in the comments. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.